As you can see, he has a bit of a turning problem. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all having a great day. So as you just saw, we pulled this turd into the driveway, halfway into the garage here, because today we're going to be installing some coil spacers here and new shocks in the front, pretty much to level out the front of the truck because he can't turn worth a crap. So that's the plan for today. We're gonna get set up here and get started on it. So now that we have the truck up on jack stands and both the tires off, we're going to come up here and loosen up the bolts here for the shocks. And then after that, we'll pull the shocks out from the top here. We'll undo these 3 bolts on this shock tower right here. And then we'll pull the shock out up to the top. And then we'll take the coil spring out and we'll use the compression spring tool that we're running from AutoZone over here. And we'll compress the coil spring, and then we will add the coil spacer in and throw them back up, and also install the new Bilstein shocks with resis. So everyone's shock tower might be different depending on what shock you have in there and the bolt on top. But this one's a 3/4 on the top here. And then after we get that done, we're gonna come down here and take off the 3 bolts on, there's 2 on the front and 1 on the back side, and then we'll take this shock tower off and pull the shock up to the top. After we also do the bolt down here, which I'll get to the sides of that in a minute. The bolts on the shock tower here on his are a 15 mil. So everyone wondering and saying that rock lights are useless. You guys saw a second ago we had this light underneath here. And now we just have the rock lights on, and you can just see everything. I don't have to have a light under the wheel well here. I can just leave this light up here underneath the hood and not have to move it every single time as soon as I find somewhere to mount it. But rock lights definitely come in clutch here when you're working underneath here and you're having to record stuff. So next, now that we got the shock tower out, we're gonna come down here and get this bottom bolt out, and then we'll be able to pull the shock up through the top, and then we'll start working on getting the coil spring out. You guys saw these trays in the last video, and I was talking about how awesome they are. Preston came in clutch. He has the hookups. Got me a black one. These things are heavy duty, guys. I'll put a link down below on these because you guys should definitely check them out. They're heavy duty. They're awesome. They have magnets in them, so that way you can stick them on with everything and all your bolts stick in there. You don't have to worry about loosening them. And they have a bunch of different sorted trays, as you guys saw, and I absolutely love them. So definitely check them out if you want to. Now we got the shock out of there. We're going to compress the spring a little bit, and then we'll be able to pull it right out, and then we can work on getting the coil spacer in place. One thing I forgot to mention was you also got to drop the sway bar down, that way the front axle completely comes down all the way, because it will restrict you and it will also ruin your bushings. Pulled the coil spring out. What we're going to end up doing now is removing this metal part with the bolts on it because we don't need that anymore. We're going to leave the rubber piece on because you want to keep that. And then our coil spacers here will end up sitting in here. And these will be your new bolts and nuts that will attach to your frame here and your shock tower on top. spring completely in the truck with the coil spacer right there. One little tip for you guys, if you're having trouble getting that spring, the coil spring in place, even with the compression, the spring compressors there, take the jack on the opposite side and jack that up. That way it brings the other side down. That way you can slip the coil spring and the coil spring spacer in place. Makes it a little bit more loose, so it's easier for you guys to do. Just a little tip. So the next step's going to be installing the shocks. We got the Bilstein 5160 series here with the Resi. We're going to get those installed next, and then after that we will work on putting the shock tower back in, tightening up the top bolt here, and then after that we will get moving on to the other side. Shock in and the tower bolted down. The shock's just loosely in there. We got the Resi just tied up out of the way for now, that way it's not hanging down. One tip you want to make sure is don't cut the spring loose until you get it in place, otherwise you have a really hard time compressing and getting the shock tower back in and getting everything all lined up. So just a little tip of the day there for you. We've completely got the shock and everything all tightened up. We're going to do the Resi very last after we get the other side done, so we can figure out where he wants to put them. Got the top in here with all the new hardware and everything. And then down here, we got that bolt back in. Probably can't see it, but it's all tight. So now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the other side, do a time lapse of all that, and then we'll hop back over here and we get to mounting the Resis, and we'll show you guys where we end up putting those on the truck. Alright, so now that we have the driver's side completely all in, we got the shock tower, the spring, the coil spacer. Now we're going to go ahead and get the Resi mounted up. To do so, it comes with the hardware. You got the post clamp mounts here, you got the nuts, the washers, the bolts, and of course the bracket that the Resi is going to sit into. So next, I'm going to go ahead and get it lined up underneath here. It comes pre-drilled with 2 holes for right here, so this is where it's going to go. So now we're going to go ahead and get this all mounted up and get the Resi mounted to it. And then we'll go ahead and drop her down and get the tires back on. Alright guys, we're out in the parking lot. There's a light pole right here. We're going to have them turn around here and see how sharp we can turn before they start rubbing, if they rub at all. As soon So far, no rub. Ooh, there's a little rub right there. Ooh, a little right there. So as you just saw, he had a little bit of rubbing, minor out of, how much turn would you say you had?
I got about 1 full turn with no leveling kit. Now I get about turn and a half, turn and 3/4 without everyone in there.
So we might end up throwing the 3-inch spacers I have in the front instead of the 1.5s. Or we were also talking about the idea of a long arm kit and some bigger springs. So we'll see what happens, but that's gonna be a wrap on today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope it helped some of you guys out. If it did, then please give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't subscribed already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. We're gonna keep pumping out videos. We have other ideas coming up and lots more videos coming, so make sure to tune in for those. I'll have both our Instagrams below like usual. Have a good day and we'll see you next time.